What's up with Cody Bellinger? Something's up.
Oh, boy. There's a lot of people just going, well, like you said on Friday when the word came out, oh, they're going to want him. It's amazing. It's like, got to get him, got to get him, got to get him. I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Well, let's talk about it because
Yes.
there was some information today, and here I go again, plug into something I wrote, but I wrote it much earlier today because I know a lot of people are interested in Cody Bellinger. So if you go to scoopswithdannymac.com, you can read it. But I also wanted to talk about it here. I mean, one's not, it's you can do both. So the interesting thing, of course, the Dodgers non-tendered Bellinger, and so he's on the market and available because the Dodgers basically declined to make an offer for 2023. It would have been his final year of arbitration. And the estimates out there, like MLB Trade Rumors, for example, is that Bellinger would have been in line for a $18 million to, say, $20 million salary, 1 year salary for 23. The Dodgers want to bring him back. They just don't want to pay him that much. So Scott Boras told Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic and Fox Sports, indicated that the interest in Bellinger was immediate, and it is pretty widespread, which I totally believe, by the way. Boras told Ken Rosenthal, quote, I've already been offered multiple years, but most likely because of his age, we don't want a multi-year deal. What he wants to do, and Bellinger will turn 28 in July, what he wants to do, and Bellinger agrees, is that wants to knock down any questions he has about his shoulder and kind of reestablish his value, and then go looking for a multiple-year contract going before the 2024 season. And so, the shoulder has hounded him. The questions about the shoulder have hounded him since it happened. I mean, he had multiple right shoulder dislocations in 2020. Then he really messed it up, of all things, by celebrating a home run in the World Series. And he had to he did kind of the forearm smash thing, and it popped his shoulder out or whatever. It was really stupid, but, I mean, at that point in time, it's not like anybody told him, well, look, whatever you do, don't raise your shoulder and do this or do that. He reacted spontaneously. I can't hold it against him. And anyway, he's the one that's had to kind of handle the repercussions for that. But Boras told a lot of reporters at the GM meetings, he said this has nothing to do with skill. It has everything to do with strength in the shoulder and rebuilding strength in the shoulder. So he had the shoulder soon after the 2020. He had the surgery, soon after the 2020 World Series. And his offensive numbers have been just awful the last couple of years. Talking about Cody Bellinger. Jim, the last 2 years, Bellinger has had 900 plate appearances. And it's important just to kind of absorb these numbers. It tells you just how bad he's been offensively. So over the last 2 seasons combined, there's been 151 major league hitters that have 900 or more plate appearances. Again, Bellinger had exactly 900, so that's why I use that. Mm-hmm. So 151 hitters with at least 900 plate appearances. In batting average, the last 2 seasons combined, all these numbers of the last 2 seasons combined, 150th in batting average, 193, so second to last. The worst on-base percentage out of the 151. The 5th worst slugging percentage out of the 151. Ooh. And dead last in OPS plus, and the fancy pants weighted runs created plus. So he's literally last over the last 2 years in 4 major categories, and he's next to last in batting average, and he's in the bottom 5 in slugging. In other words, it's really ugly.
Yeah, it is.
His strikeout rate's way up. His StatCast profile, it's kind of color coded. I'm not going to read all the numbers, but if you see a lot of blue in your StatCast, like where you rank in exit velocity and all this other stuff, you see a lot of blue. That ain't good. You want to see red. he got a lot of blue. His hard hit rate has been dropping. Now, I will say this about Bellinger, because I try to be thorough and I try to be fair. There were some positive indicators in 2022 when you compare it to 2021. It doesn't mean that he was good in 2022, but it shows that he was starting to bounce back. So that leads to the question, does this mean that he will bounce back? Maybe not 100%, but will he be in really good form again next season? And I think that's the question all these teams are asking themselves that have interest, because they're like, hey, this guy in 2019 was the best player in the game. He had 47 home runs. He drove in 115. He had a massive slugging percentage. He hit .305. He stole 15 bases. He was the best player in baseball in 2019. That wasn't that long ago. And the only reason his numbers went south was because of the shoulder problems. But anyway, again, this is comparing where he was in 2021 than where he was in 2022. His on-base percentage went up 25 points. His batting average went up 31 points. His slugging percentage went up 87 points to 395 or 393. And his OPS went up 112 points. His isolated power number went up a lot, and that's a good thing. He actually had an above-average isolated power number. And I know that's gobbledygook, but it means, yeah, the power is there again. So if you look at all this stuff, and his numbers will tell you something if you want to buy into it, that wait a minute now, 2021 was a disaster, 2022 overall was not good, but he definitely improved. So what does that mean for 2023? And that's an interesting question about him. In 2021, for example, Bellinger is a left-handed hitter. In 2021, he was 40% below average offensively against right-handed pitching, his whole profile. In 2022, this is big to me. In 2022, he was only 8% below average against right-handed pitching. I mean, you go from 40% below average against right-handed pitching, which is going to be your job. You go from 40% to 8% below average in one season. That's a pretty big gain. Does that mean the shoulder is getting stronger? Does this mean that what Boris is saying is right? It's a matter of restoring the strength in the shoulder that does not happen overnight, because there was a lot of damage done to the shoulder. But he seems to be trending in a more favorable way. So I'm just putting that out there. He's an excellent base runner. He still is. No numbers are necessary. He is an outstanding base runner, and that just includes his being on the bases, advancing bases, all that stuff. Also has an 82% success rate when he tries to steal. There are mixed reviews on his defense. So I am in the camp of, at worst, he would be an average center fielder. At best, he would be a little bit above average. He's not terrible, however. So I'm going to view him as like an average center fielder. I'm kind of compromising StatCast and Fielding Bible, kind of meeting them in the middle. So, because there is a difference of opinion on that. So I'm not trying to do any matchmaking. I would assume the Cardinals would at least inquire about what he's looking for and whether there's something they should consider, because a lot of teams seem to be doing that. Calling Boris, just getting a general idea of what they would like. Looks like a one-year deal, but they're going to try to get as much money as they can. And one thing I would say, though, there's two things. I would really be surprised if he would choose the Cardinals, unless the Cardinals, if in fact they offer, unless the Cardinals just totally blew everyone else away. We'll give you 25. We'll give you $28 million next year. So I don't think they're going to do that. But I'm saying they'll usually do what they always do. They sort of that makes them feel good to know that they win, like the bronze medal.
Yes.
They're not going to do
what you're saying.
They're not going to do what it takes to win the gold medal. But if they win the silver or the bronze, especially the bronze, maybe for them, it's like, well, we made what we thought was a highly competitive offer, and a couple other teams just were determined to outbid us, and so, but we're happy we have the bronze medal. That's kind of how they roll. We know that. So I don't know what the Cardinals' feelings on this. They don't share those opinions. They keep everything under wraps unless they don't leak unless they need a favor from the media. Then they'll leak. That's kind of how it works. Trust me, I know. So this is an interesting candidate. There are red flags. Shoulder problems are tricky. They're not easily solved. But that incremental improvement, in some cases pretty dramatic, last season from the season before, give you a reason for optimism if you're looking for a reason for optimism. But what if he does not hit in 2023? As I mentioned in this column that I wrote, if he doesn't hit in 2023, the Cardinals would have a 26-man roster that includes Cody Bellinger and Paul DeJong, two guys that over the last two seasons combined are in the bottom 10 of OPS in the majors. So that's the risk you're taking.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm willing to go there. That's rough. And here, the one thing with all this conversation, where I hear people, "Oh, go get him, go get him, go get him." I think people are under the assumption, "Oh, you're going to get him cheap." I don't think you're going to get this guy.
I don't think so either. I don't.
You know, I think it's, "Oh, we'll rehabilitate him, we'll get him for cheap." He's not going to come cheap. You're going to have to overpay him because the exact process of starting and what you're describing is Boris is out campaigning, and guess what? That's going to jack the price up. And I think whoever gets him, they're going to pay. And he may be, you know what, if everything comes up roses, you'll have a great baseball player. But I don't.
A lot of red flags,
yeah.
But there's also some improvement. That's why the case is so difficult. And what I don't want to hear is, and there's a lot of that out there, unfortunately. People view him as the 2009 version of himself, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Have you all been in some kind of like trapped in a cave, cut off from humanity? What is it that you missed the last couple seasons? I just read the numbers. He's literally the worst or next to worst hitter in baseball over the last two seasons. So what about that do you not understand? Now, yeah, it's also cool, as I did, to point out, well, he did make some pretty good progress from 21 to 22. You got to take that into consideration. And he's also a hell of an athlete. I think he's probably overrated as a fielder, but he's still going to be solid in center field. Cardinals could use a left-handed bat. Is he the number 5 bat you're looking for? I wouldn't think so because of the questions, but is it possible that he could turn in a good season? Well, sure it is, because he did make progress from one season to the next. But the Cardinals would love a one-year deal because they're not committed. It limits their liability. But the thing about that is there's a bunch of other front offices who feel exactly the same way, which is why Boris is getting so many calls. Oh, wait a minute. So we can take a chance on him. He has a huge year. Heck, he could make the difference in our team. He could make the difference in the postseason, blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, we'll probably lose him after that, but that's okay. We're only paying him 1 year. That's a good deal. So, the Cardinals ain't the only team that looks at it this way, if they're looking at it at all. It's going to take there's going to be a lot of competition for him. I'll be really surprised if there's not, because a 1 year deal is a pretty sweet thing to look at. Why do you think the Giants last year jumped on Carlos Rodon, that left-handed starting pitcher? Same type of thing. He wanted to reestablish his value after having a bunch of injuries, and he did. And now he's going to get one of the bigger contracts, I would imagine, this winter in preparation for 2023. I think the Cardinals need more of a sure thing if they're looking for, say, a number 5 hitter, a left-handed bat with power, someone who can play, all 3 outfield positions and do a decent job in center field. They could use more of a sure thing, and it probably would have to come in the trade market, because I don't think they're the type of organization that wants to give Brandon Nimmo 5 years and $100 million, which is what some people are estimating now. Even Jacoby Ellsbury money, which was really ridiculous. I don't think they're not going to do that. I would be floored if they did that. But 1 year, yeah, if they can get him, they would. I don't know why they wouldn't entertain it, but I don't know that he's a sure thing. I would say he can't be considered a sure thing, but there is at least a potential for a surprise season. But you know what? I just used the phrase the Cardinals need more of a sure thing.
Oh, yeah.
But do they? Because the St. Louis front office knows that it can win the NL Central in 2023 without doing a thing. Why would you need a sure thing when you already are a sure thing to win the Central without lifting the proverbial finger. And we know they will. If nothing else, they'll get a catcher in here. It's probably not going to be the one that we think the Cardinals should pursue, 2 or 3, 4 candidates. I don't know. I'd be pleasantly surprised if they reach to the higher shelf for a catcher. They'll probably take the cheap way out or the economically sound way out or whatever you want to call it, and we'll see. I'm not really predicting that. That'd be my hunch only because that's how they roll. So until they prove otherwise, there's no reason to believe they're going to make this big charge into free agency or give up a bunch of prospects in a trade. But, yeah, so it's easy to say, like I did, yeah, boy, the Cardinals need more of a sure thing than Bellinger. Well, I don't know about that because they can still win this division by not doing anything. And you say, well, Bernie, the goal is to win the World Series. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. But you also had the president of baseball operations when they were out there in Vegas for the GM meetings telling everyone, all the writers and whoever was out there, it's like, well, no, we're not going to change the way we were crushed that we lost to the Phillies. So it was very, very disappointing. But we're not going to change the way we operate. You look at our record, getting to the playoffs every year. We're very proud of our consistency. Why would we want to start changing things? Oh, I don't know. Maybe to avoid it getting embarrassed in the playoffs every year. That just a thought.
Yes.
Being able to score, I don't know, runs in the postseason, stuff like that. Runs and all, like home runs and stuff.
That'd be nice acquisition. But we only need 89 wins to win the division, though, to get in.
No, although I think the Cubs are going to be sneaky good because I think they're going to get busy in free agency. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they don't come up with one of the primary shortstops. And it wouldn't surprise me if they take a flyer on Bellinger. At least the media up there thinks they will. So it's really, really interesting because I think the discussion about the Cardinals from the management, their actual motivation level, I think that's a fair thing to discuss. I don't know what Mo told Nolan Arenado, but Nolan Arenado bought it. And Nolan Arenado is now committed, and he can't do a damn thing about it, even if whatever was promised doesn't happen. So what's he going to do? Going to force another trade?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So do we need a break?
We do not. We do not need a break. But one more thought on Bellinger.
Please.
On this side. And this kind of goes back to what I said about the Dodgers organization. If they're giving up on him because they have a lot of resources, I'm leery. And I'll just throw out some names in the past. It goes back a little bit, but Ethier, Kemp, Jock Peterson, Yasiel Puig. They all at one point decided we're done with these guys, and Kemp had a couple nice years. He was never the same player. None of those guys were, great players, or what people thought they could be once they left L.A. And that's what I'm very leery of on Bellinger. But I like your numbers on the progress he made over a year ago. I did not know there was that much progress.
Yeah,
which is intriguing.
And my point is, he was still a below average hitter by quite a bit, but not that far below average against right-handed pitching. And the Cardinals would be out of their minds. They'd be complete morons if they gave him a lot of at-bats against left-handed pitchers. I don't know why the Dodgers did, because in his state post-surgery, couldn't hit left-handed pitchers. But when he played against the pitchers he should bat against, right-handed pitchers, he actually started to really bounce back last year. So there are reasons to pull. There are strands, pretty big strands of hope, but we'll see. I'm going to be so curious to see how this goes. And the Cardinals are in a pickle because they're either going to spend a lot of money, or going to have to really upgrade the team. I mean, really upgrade the team.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to spend a lot of money, which they don't like to do, and I don't think they will do, or they're going to have to trade multiple of their beloved prospects. And the last time they did that, I mean really, really high-level prospects, they gave away Sandy Alcantara and Zach Gallen. So that will make them even more reluctant because of the fear of getting burned again in one of these prospect package trades, you know?
That's very accurate. Yep.
So there's somebody got to drink some courage juice. I don't know what that is exactly.
They can use a little bit, though.
Little courage potion, right?
It's okay to dip your toe out a little bit.
Yeah, I think I agree.